The world watched in stunned silence as Tiffany Henyard, a woman once celebrated for her entrepreneurial success, finally surrendered to the FBI after a raid exposed the shocking criminal empire she had been hiding for years. Henyard, known for her high-profile lifestyle, had seemingly built a reputation based on hard work and ambition. However, beneath the surface of her picture-perfect life, a far darker reality was brewing, one that would soon unravel in the most dramatic way possible. For months, the FBI had been conducting a covert investigation into a series of criminal activities tied to Henyard's name. What initially seemed like a standard investigation into financial crimes turned into a full-blown federal operation, uncovering an underground network that spanned across borders, involved millions of dollars, and was linked to some of the most dangerous criminal syndicates in the country. Tiffany Henyard, once regarded as a successful businesswoman, was now at the center of a sprawling criminal conspiracy that would shake the nation to its core. The operation began with a tip-off from an anonymous source. The information provided to the FBI was enough to start a low-level investigation, but what they uncovered as they dug deeper shocked even the most seasoned agents. Henyard, it seemed, was not only laundering money for international cartels, but was also allegedly involved in human trafficking, illegal gambling operations, and large-scale fraud. Her name had become a key part of a much larger network of corruption that spanned several industries, including finance, technology, and even entertainment. As investigators began to piece together the evidence, they discovered a chilling web of deceit. Henyard's role in the criminal enterprise was far more complex than anyone had imagined. She was no longer just a businesswoman, she was a key player in a vast underworld that reached into the highest echelons of power and influence. Financial documents uncovered during the investigation painted a picture of a woman who had been living a double life. On one hand, Henyard was a public figure, admired for her success and philanthropic efforts. On the other hand, she was deeply involved in managing large sums of illicit money and coordinating the movement of illegal goods across state lines. One of the most disturbing elements of the investigation was the discovery of Henyard's connections to human trafficking rings. Evidence suggested that she had used her legitimate businesses as fronts for trafficking operations, exploiting vulnerable individuals for profit. The FBI's raid on her properties revealed disturbing evidence, including documents detailing the logistics of trafficking and the management of illegal activities. Her once glamorous lifestyle, luxurious mansions, designer clothes, and a life of excess, was all funded by the very crimes that were now being uncovered. The FBI's raid on Henyard's estate was nothing short of explosive. Armed agents stormed her properties in a series of coordinated strikes, seizing computers, cell phones, and a vast array of financial documents. Hidden safe houses where trafficking victims had allegedly been held were discovered on her property. The sheer scale of the criminal operation shocked even the most experienced law enforcement officers. It became clear that Tiffany Henyard was not just an incidental figure in this scheme, she was the mastermind behind much of it. Despite the overwhelming evidence, Henyard managed to evade arrest for several days. Speculation began to mount as to her whereabouts. Had she fled the country? Was she hiding in plain sight? For a while, it seemed that Henyard had slipped through the cracks, leading to an intensifying manhunt. With her face splashed across every news outlet, the pressure on Henyard grew by the hour. She had become a symbol of how someone, with enough resources and connections, could live a life of luxury while secretly being involved in some of the most heinous activities imaginable. But eventually, the pressure became too much. In a move that stunned both the public and law enforcement, Tiffany Henyard turned herself in to the FBI. Her decision to surrender was made in the dead of night at an undisclosed FBI office. She arrived with her attorney, flanked by security, and voluntarily placed herself in federal custody. For many, her surrender was seen as the end of a long and drawn-out game of cat and mouse. But for Henyard, it was just the beginning of a new chapter, one that would see her face charges that could land her in prison for the rest of her life. The question on everyone's mind was why she surrendered when it seemed like she had everything to lose. Some believe that Henyard had finally realized the full extent of the investigation and the mounting pressure from the FBI and media. Others speculated that she might have hoped for a lighter sentence by cooperating with authorities, or perhaps even making a plea deal. Regardless of the reasons behind her decision, the fact remained that Tiffany Henyard's life would never be the same. Her days of living in the lap of luxury had come to a crashing halt. In the aftermath of Henyard's surrender, the FBI continued to pore through the evidence collected during their raid. More details began to emerge about the scale of her criminal operations. They discovered that Henyard had used her legitimate businesses as fronts for money laundering and fraudulent schemes, moving funds through a series of shell companies and bank accounts. This sophisticated network had allowed her to conceal the origins of the money, making it difficult for authorities to track her illicit activities. As the investigation continued to unfold, the FBI uncovered even more disturbing details. Henyard had been involved in trafficking vulnerable individuals across state lines, coercing them into forced labor and sexual exploitation. The victims, some of whom had been kept in captivity for months, were finally rescued thanks to the work of the FBI's Human Trafficking Task Force. It was a chilling realization that someone who had appeared so poised and successful could be involved in such heinous crimes. The public's reaction to Henyard's surrender was a mixture of shock, disbelief, and outrage. Many who had once admired her for her business acumen were now left questioning how they could have been so blind to the truth. Henyard's story became a cautionary tale about the dangers of putting too much trust in appearances and the consequences of living a double life. It also served as a reminder of how even the most successful individuals could become ensnared in the world of crime, driven by greed, power, and a desire to maintain a life of excess. For Tiffany Henyard, the road ahead would be fraught with legal battles that could ultimately determine the rest of her life. With a number of serious charges stacked against her, including conspiracy, trafficking, money laundering, and racketeering, her fate hung in the balance. These allegations, based on months of FBI investigations, painted a disturbing picture of a woman who had once appeared to be a successful businesswoman but was now revealed to be at the heart of a vast criminal network. Tiffany's once promising future had crumbled before her eyes as the spotlight turned from admiration to scandal and from success to a life embroiled in criminal activity. The extent of her alleged crimes had left investigators stunned. Through tireless work, the FBI uncovered evidence that suggested Henyard had been involved in orchestrating a web of illegal activity that spanned multiple industries, each one feeding into the other to create a sophisticated and almost impenetrable network. While Henyard had long portrayed herself as an entrepreneurial genius, the investigation revealed that her rise to power had been built not on legitimate business success, but on a series of illegal activities that funded her lavish lifestyle. One of the most shocking revelations came when authorities discovered the role Henyard played in money laundering operations tied to major international cartels. The money that was funneled through her network came from a variety of illegal activities, including drug trafficking, fraud, and human exploitation. The sheer scale of the operation was staggering. Henyard, along with several of her associates, allegedly used a series of front companies and shell corporations to move large sums of illicit money across borders, evading detection for years. These companies, some of which were publicly traded, gave her the perfect cover to hide the true nature of her activities. But the darkest aspect of this entire saga was the human trafficking ring that Henyard is suspected of running. Investigators believe that she exploited vulnerable individuals, forcing them into indentured servitude or trafficking them across state lines for sexual exploitation. This part of the operation was uncovered during the FBI raid on Henyard's estate, where agents found disturbing documentation and communication that indicated she was involved in the trafficking of minors and adults alike. Victims who had been rescued from the ring were left traumatized by their experiences, and many of them identified Henyard as the key figure behind the operations. This discovery alone had a profound impact on the public's perception of Henyard, who had once been seen as a philanthropist and role model. Her surrender to the FBI, which occurred after an intense manhunt, was a shocking twist in a story that had already captivated the media. Many were left wondering why Henyard, someone who seemed to have everything, would turn herself in after so much had been exposed. It was widely believed that she thought she could outlast the investigation, possibly relying on her wealth, influence, and resources to evade capture. But after days of being pursued relentlessly by the media and authorities alike, she finally caved in to the inevitable. She walked into the FBI's office with her attorney at her side, facing a long list of criminal charges that had the potential to ruin her for the rest of her life. The public's reaction to her surrender was mixed. Some praised her for taking responsibility, while others believed it was a strategic move to avoid facing harsher consequences. As the details of the investigation continued to leak to the press, the world learned just how deep the corruption surrounding Henyard went. This wasn't just a case of a woman caught up in a few bad decisions. It was the story of a criminal mastermind who had created a vast and elaborate operation, manipulating countless people for personal gain. As Tiffany Henyard awaits trial, the legal battles ahead will be incredibly complex. She faces a mountain of evidence against her, and the FBI has made it clear that their investigation is far from over. As more details emerge, the list of individuals who may be implicated in her crimes continues to grow. It's not just Henyard under scrutiny anymore. The investigation has cast a wide net, and many of Henyard's associates, business partners, and even political allies could soon be drawn into the scandal. The trial will likely expose a network of corruption that stretches far beyond Henyard's personal involvement, raising serious questions about the extent of her influence in both legitimate and illicit circles. If convicted, Henyard faces a lifetime behind bars. The charges against her are so severe that the possibility of parole seems remote. However, legal experts have speculated that Henyard may attempt to cut a deal with prosecutors in exchange for cooperation, possibly giving up other members of the syndicate in exchange for a reduced sentence. This has led to growing rumors that Henyard is already in negotiations with the FBI, hoping to secure some leniency by becoming a key witness in the ongoing investigation. But despite any potential deals, Henyard's reputation is likely beyond repair. She has already been vilified in the media, and the public perception of her has shifted dramatically. No longer is she the businesswoman who once inspired admiration. Instead, she has become the face of a criminal enterprise that manipulated countless lives. Her story has sparked debates about the nature of success and the dangerous lengths some people will go to maintain their image. Henyard's case raises difficult questions about the fragility of public personas and how easily they can be shattered when hidden truths come to light. For Henyard, the trial ahead promises to be grueling. Legal experts predict a high-profile court case that will be closely followed by the media, with intense scrutiny placed on every piece of evidence presented. Her attorneys will likely argue that she was either unaware of the full scope of the criminal activities or that she was coerced into participating. On the other hand, prosecutors are expected to present a mountain of damning evidence, painting Henyard as the ringleader of a vast operation that exploited both individuals and systems for personal profit. As the trial approaches, the public's fascination with Henyard continues to grow. News outlets are filled with reports detailing her rise to power, her luxurious lifestyle, and the shocking fall from grace that has captured the nation's attention. People are left wondering how someone who seemed to have everything, wealth, influence, and a strong public image could be involved in such despicable acts. Was it greed, power, or something deeper? As more pieces of the puzzle are revealed, it seems clear that Henyard's fall from grace will be a defining moment in the ongoing battle against organized crime and corruption. The case of Tiffany Henyard is a chilling reminder of how the pursuit of wealth and power can lead people down dark paths. Her story is one of deception, manipulation, and ultimately, a devastating loss of everything she had worked for. It serves as a stark warning about the dangers of living in the shadows of a criminal world and how the lies we tell ourselves can only sustain us for so long before they begin to unravel. As the trial date approaches, the world will continue to watch closely, waiting to see if Tiffany Henyard will face justice for the shocking crime she has been accused of. No matter the outcome, one thing is certain: her legacy will forever be tied to the criminal activities she was involved in, and the lessons learned from her story will resonate long after the final verdict is delivered. If you found this story fascinating and want to stay informed on the latest developments, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Don't miss out on our upcoming coverage. Hit that notification bell so you're always in the loop. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.